All right, everybody. So what we're going to be tying here is the world famous Prince Nymph. There are numerous ways to do several of the features here, and I'll kind of go over a few of those things. What I have in the vise here is a lightning strike, size 12 times 1 long. I like the times 1 long on these on this particular pattern. Honestly, these guys are. This is about as large as you want to go. These guys are normally down between like 16 and 18. I've seen them as small as like a 22. And they can be kind of difficult to tie on a 22. So we're going to do it on a size 12 and hopefully kind of get you rolling on this pattern. It's a great pattern. It's fun to tie. It can be a little challenging. So what I have in the vise is that size 12, 1 times 1 long. I've paired it with a Cyclops bead, 1/8 gold. The thread I'm using here is some Uni-Thread 80 black. And so let's just kind of get going. So one of the first things that you'll see probably on a lot of other videos, if you go check out other videos, when they back the beads, they back it with lead wire or lead-free wire, which I believe is just 10. And so you could totally do that and wrap this around, push it together, squish it up inside the bead, and then what that does, if you decide to do that, is it stabilizes the bead. So if you want to do that, that's cool. You can do that. We're going to go a little bit different route here and do it without the lead wire. So I'm just going to start my thread right behind the bead, and you can see that I'm just kind of wrapping right behind there. Do a little bit of a thread base there. I don't know, I've got 15, 20 turns, maybe somewhere in there. And what I want to do here is I want to have a tag that sticks out a few inches past the back. This is just kind of, you don't have to do this, but it's a kind of another trick as to how you can help split the biots in the back. And so I wanted to cover that. So what I'm going to do here is, touching turns or pretty close to touching turns. And I'm going to bring that tag on the bottom side, just like you see here, so that I'm running that tag up underneath. And I want to draw that tag underneath, but to my side. So it's on my side, but still underneath. And I'll show you why here in just a few minutes. So we're going to take this back to about the barb, right about there. I'm going to leave this kind of just hanging out over at the side. Next, what I want to do is I'm going to add between 4 or 5 wraps of thread, just to create a little ball of thread right there. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see a little lump. And then what that's going to allow us to do is help get those biots to flare out and kind of form a little V shape off the back. Next, or first, second, wherever I'm at, I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab some brown biots. You can use ginger biots for this. And I'm going to grab them, and then when I pull my biots, I'll get them lined up straight in my hand and pinch them between my finger, and then I pull the stem away from the biot, not the biot away from the stem. So I'm what you see here is my left index, left thumb. This is my right thumb, right index. So I'm going to use my right hand to pull the stem away this way, not like this. You can see how that flexes and kind of wants to break. I've had some questions on that. That can kind of help get your biots to break. So I'm going to just kind of in one maneuver pull it away, and that can help keep your biots from breaking. Next, what I'm going to do is I got to kind of get this back stuff off. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to just trim it out right at the back, just like so. And then if your fingers are dry like mine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lick my fingertips on my right thumb, right index, and my left thumb, left index, and I can slide them away from one another. And I need to get these lined up. So what I'll do is I'll put between my left thumb and left index, I'll set one biot. And we need these with the concave side opposite of one another, or the convex side, or you can say back to back, facing each other. And then what I'll do is I'll rest that right on my nail, and I'll set it down kind of like that. And you can see how I can kind of maneuver them back and forth with this one here. And so I'm going to get those pretty close, and when I pinch off like that, hey, look at that, I got that pretty close that time. You can do that. So for the length of the tail, and that takes some practice, so, practice a little bit. For the length of the tail, traditionally you want it to be about half of the hook shank. So from behind the eye to the midpoint of the body. So you want it right about there. And I'm going to transfer my distance. And I'm going to split that right on top of the hook shank, right over on top. And then where I pinched off on my left and thumb and index, I want to slide that right up to where I put that little bump. And then what I'll do is put some loose wraps in, and I kind of wrap this forward loosely. Now, you can kind of see how my biots are touching the back of my bead, and that can really cause some problems. So, because the biot bumps into the bead, it kind of creates this little wrinkle in the biot. It can cause a problem. So what you can do, if that's happening to you, is you can come in and just trim a little out of either side. They don't have to be perfect. It's going to get fixed. And I'm going to proceed forward, wrapping my thread forward with loose turns. And I'm going to try my darndest here to kind of keep that material on the sides. And it doesn't always work out super well because they're biots and they're tough to use, and it is what it is. But the more you can keep this material on the sides of the hook shank, the better your tail is going to turn out. So you can see I'm using my bodkin to kind of play with it a little bit. And you'll notice how here I'm kind of spiral wrapping it forward. These are all very loose turns. I'm just kind of working the material. I'm taking my time. And do that with your biots. Right now my fingers are super dry, so I don't have a lot of grip on them. These things are finicky to use. They break. They get in your way. They're irritating, like this guy is right here. But we're going to overcome that. And we're going to overcome it by, again, loose turns. Now when I get up towards the front, I'm going to start kind of tightening that up a little bit. I've already gone a little bit longer than I wanted to for the opening, but hey, it kind of is what it is, right? So when you're looking at it from this angle, you want, ideally, you want one biot on one side of the hook shank and the opposing biot on the opposite side, so this forms this nice little V. Okay? Now on the way back, just kind of methodically come along and tighten it down a little bit. Whoop. Don't wrap your thread up, don't break it. Now, with this all being loose in the back, as you're tightening your thread down going to the back, it's going to allow you to maneuver and adjust or make adjustments to the biot, or either side of the biot itself, or both. Usually it's both, I've found. Every once in a while I'll get one biot that's just completely out of whack. And I'm going to go right back to where I started. So I've actually got these sitting pretty nice. If these are starting to collapse on you like this, okay, that's why this tag is here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our thread, we're going to split between the two, and that's going to be on the far side, so you can see that it's on the far biot, the biot that's on away from me. And I'm going to wrap that in with one turn, and I went the wrong way for me. There we go. Just like so. Okay, so now I've got this little piece of thread that's sitting on the back side, helping push that biot to the far side. Now, That's why this tag is here. I can pull this forward to my near side, run it up along the side of the hook shank. Just capture that tag in and wrap it forward. And now I've got a second piece of thread running on this side. You can do that little maneuver on any biot tail that you need it to split like that. I know on some of the other videos that we've been doing in the beads and biot series, where you've seen some different techniques. I wanted to throw this one in there because there's more than one way to skin the cat, and some things are easier for others than other ways. So anyway, that's one thing you can do, and so we learned it on this one. Very cool. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to get some gold wire, brassy size. Traditionally, this fly is tied with gold oval tinsel, but we're going to do it with gold wire. And you want to get out, I don't know, 4 inches. Whatever's comfortable for you to work with in your hand. 4 inches is pretty good for me. Okay, and like I do with most of my wire, I like to tie it in on the bottom side. But I'm going to advance my thread all the way up, because what we're going to do here is we're going to help stabilize this bead, because this bead's still kind of wonky, moving all over the place. So I'm going to slide my wire right up underneath, and sometimes you'll see how it pushes through the front slot of that bead, but we don't want it to go that far. But you can kind of angle it down like this, and you can see it the wire start to bend. That means it's just kind of jamming into that bead. And you'll see that it's on the side. But now we're going to help stabilize that bead so it doesn't move quite so much. You can see now that it's more solid. It's angled a little bit, but you can kind of adjust it. So that kind of helps. That's a little trick that can help. And I don't want to keep spending time on it. Well, see, it fell off. A little finicky, but it can help. You can also drop a little dab of glue in there. But adding that wire that way can help stabilize the bead. And of course it didn't on this one because I'm shooting a video, and anytime I shoot a video and I try to say, hey, this will work, then of course it doesn't work because I'm shooting the video. So no, I promise that does work. It can. But it is what it is, right? Like, it never fails. It never fails. The camera gets in the way, my power cuts out, my battery dies, the light didn't turn on, whatever it is. This time the bead didn't stay in place, and you're going to come across all kinds of that stuff when you're tying flies, and you just got to learn to move on past it and just be like, hey, you know what? It didn't work on that fly. All right, so now that we've wrapped to the back, or almost to the back, I've got about just a bodkin tip there that I'm leaving available. Next, what we're going to do, or open I should say, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab about you want 4 to 5 peacock herls, and kind of go through them and find some that are similar color. Take your time when you're getting your peacock herls, especially on a fly like this, because it's on the upper end of a beginner pattern, actually maybe even into an intermediate pattern. So take your time and make a good selection of your material on this. The more you tie these kind of flies, the more you're going to realize that, hey, I need to kind of up my game on the material that I'm picking. See, I just don't like that one there, so I'll pull that one aside. I want to take these 5, except that one jumped back. That's all right. I'm going to pull them out from the bunch. And I did get rid of it. Okay, cool. So next I'm going to kind of align my tips a little bit. They don't have to be perfect, but you do want them. Oh, no, I didn't. That was the one I was wanting to get rid of. But you do want them somewhat lined up. So when I go to cut these, we're going to tie these in tip forward. So when I go to cut these, I want to move back at least an inch, if not an inch and a half, depending on the size of your herl and the thickness of your stem. That's just something you're going to have to learn and kind of gauge. But I'm going to come in and cut those out because those tips can be awfully fragile. So now that I've got them in a little clump like this, what I'm going to do is I can literally get my distance going forward this time, so I can see how far I need to go forward. That way we're building a consistent body here. And now I can tie them in with 2 wraps to the back and just slowly and again methodically start working them forward. I really try when I do things like this to keep that material running the same direction. So if it's on the bottom side of the hook shank, I keep it on the bottom side of the hook shank, just to help build symmetry. If I need to add a few wraps in there just to kind of help keep it moving. Dubbing is one of those materials that you can get away with not having to do all this and still keep a nice looking fly, because dubbing can hide a lot of mistakes. When you work with some other materials, you can't. So now that I've got about 3/4 of the way up, and I didn't quite get it right behind the bead, and come in and trim this stuff out. And again, a fly like this, it's a classic. You want to, take your time, learn it. There's a lot of great techniques on this fly that will transfer over to other flies. So the more you kind of spend some time with it, you can see that I'm going back and forth just to keep the symmetry moving. The better you're going to get at tying. Alright, so now that I have all that done, what I'm going to do, and there's 2 ways you can really do this. You can lick your fingertips and start to twist these together. That can be a little difficult. Be a little easier if it was the middle of summer and it was 95% humidity. You can also put on a little hackle clip and just start rotating it like this and watching it twist. And what you want to do is, when you're twisting it, you want somewhat constant tension, but you don't want to be, if you're too tight with it, they're going to start to break on you. You can start to see that it's twisting together. And so I don't keep going forever. What I'll do is I'll get it twisted so it's about, a 1/2 inch up or so, and I'll make my first wrap. Okay? Just like so. So that it's everything we just twisted is now connecting. I'll come in with my toothbrush and kind of fluff some of this stuff out. Toothbrush is a great tool. Make sure it's like a soft bristle. Get that hard bristle stuff, it'll get a bigger chance of it breaking something off. And I make a few more twists. I'll come in and brush it out. And the reason I actually do this is because it kind of helps give a more seamless look to the fly. Right? So I'll come in, I brush it out, I make a few twists, just so I can get another wrap in. I'll come in and brush it out again. I'll make my wrap. And we're just going to repeat this process. It can be kind of a little daunting here. But take your time. There's no wrong here. We're trying to make a nice looking fly. Again, these aren't necessarily the easiest flies to make look really good. They take practice, no doubt. So you can see I'm just taking my time here. I don't go through and edit anything. So you can kind of get a flavor of what it takes to tie one of these, and tie it well. They're not always perfect, but such is life, eh? Got that Canadian accent going on today, eh? Alright, and so I'm going to take this all the way up behind the bead. Just like so. And now I'll just put the last one in. Cross my thread over, one in front, one in back, one in front, one in back. Do that a couple of times. Kind of cinch down. I know that went a little quick, but you can do it either way. You can do it like 2 crossed over one way and 2 crossed over the other. I actually kind of perform a little X maneuver to catch it all in. And once you have that, you can come in and trim this stuff out. Just like that. So now we have our body. And I'll put a few more wraps in, because sometimes some of those guys come loose. And we don't want that to come loose. So the more we can cinch it down, the better. You don't want to go too far back into the body. We are going to go back a little bit in a minute, but let's leave that for a minute. So next we're going to take our rib and we're going to wrap it over. Ideally you want 5 turns that are evenly spaced. But sometimes you can only get like 4. So, oh, going the wrong way. There we go. This wire's kind of stiff. I know I was going the wrong way the first time. I'm going to go back to doing it the wrong way just so I can show you the wire. It's all hiding inside that hurl. It means I got my hurl nice and fluffy. Ultimately, the job of the wire is to counter wrap, meaning just go in the opposite direction of the way you laid the hurl and protect it so it doesn't break off when fishing. When you do it with tie this ribbon with the oval tinsel, it tends to kind of sit on top of that hurl a little more than with the wire. The wire is more dense and it wants to kind of grab everything and sink in. Well, I just broke my thread. Boy, this video is going sweet. It's alright, guys, it happens. Luckily, it happened right after I tied that wire in. So I'm going to rethread this real quick. Alright. Well, maybe. There we go. So, if that kind of stuff happens, just pick up and keep going. There's no wrong here. There's only progress. And sometimes that means snapping your thread and tying back on. If that happens to you, you can add, and you're not comfortable continuing to tie, you can add a little drop of glue there if you want. And now I can come in and we've got all these different scissors. Like 20 pairs of scissors that I use for different things. Now I'll tie that part in. And I've got that one little thread. Alright. I think my wire caught it, snapped it. The wire's sticking out the side there. Oh, okay, there we go. Sweet. Alright. Mishap. So next what we need is a brown hackle. Ideally you want a softer rooster or cock hackle in brown, or a stiffer hen in brown. It's just kind of what the original recipe calls for. And what we're going to do is to prep the feather, we're going to take it, I'm going to hold it, I'm going to draw all these barbs out to kind of a 90-degree angle off the side. And I want to run it along the hook shank. Holy cow, that one's long. I didn't think it was going to be that long. It's alright, if you get a long feather, you can work that for sure. That one just happened to be a touch longer than I had anticipated. Let's move down my cape a little bit here. So I'm going to hold that feather, draw all these out to the side. And when I lay this against the side, we want it to be over one length of the gap. So this is your gap here. So you want these barbs to extend this distance plus half of this distance. at minimum. We've got that there. So what I'll do is I'm going to start at the base. I'm going to strip some feather out, some of the barbs off of each side. I'm going to place the feather kind of vertically here, right? And coming from the upper right as I bring my thread over. And I know I tie kind of goofy footed, so but you want to, that's how you cross it over. You go diagonally across. So for me it's upper right to lower left, and then I'm going to swing it around and go from upper left to lower right. And then back, and now I can tie that hackle in, or the stem of that hackle in. You can see it's kind of moving forward. Once you've got that in and you feel that it's secured, and that can take some practice too on this guy, I'll bring in my fingernail clippers and trim that guy out. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take it and we're going to make a couple of turns. And we want that hackle to lay back. You see, if it stands up like that, it looks like a dry fly. So one thing you can do is lick your fingertips and pull all the feathers, all these barbulets to the back. Kind of like so, right? Now, to get them to stay in that direction, let me zoom out just a little bit. To get them to stay in that direction, what I do is I'll lick these, I'll pull them to the back, and you see how my stem is sitting somewhat straight, and I'm going to pinch those barbulets with those fingers, or my fingertips on my left thumb, left index, and I'm going to take the stem and bend it over and pull down. And you can see how when I do that, those barbs move to the back, and you can just kind of work your whole feather and do that so that they get orientated into the back. Boy, I think I overpronounced that, but anyway, orientated to the back. Now we can make you want 1 or 2 wraps of hackle here. That's it. It's called a collar, or a collar style wrap. Now once I've wrapped over, I'll turn my feather kind of to the side, if you can see that. Let me zoom back in. Kind of to the side so that when I bring my thread over, I'm catching more stem. Kind of like so. And then I'll just draw everything to the back. Yep. Now I can wrap back and lock it in. Shouldn't take too many wraps, but that part can be a little challenging. This is like I said, this is an advanced beginner fly, kind of beginner intermediate fly. Okay, so now we've got our collar, and we're just about done. We have to add some white biots. And I have found when you tie this collar, traditionally you want to kind of leave these collars in, but what I'll do to get these biots to sit flat across the back is I'll come in with my scissors directly across the back, just like so, and make some snips. Just so that that hackle right off the top back is gone, so that I can get my biots to sit flat. Yeah, let's kind of groom that down. That's looking pretty good. Pretty good. Alright, so when using the white biots, what we're going to do is they're going to come directly off the back in another V shape like this, except they're going to lay flat. These lay to the side, so they're kind of protruding out to the sides a little bit. These ones are going to lay flat and kind of, you know, they're going to kind of do this right on top like that. So let me get to some better biot. There we go. The original called for 2 white biots per side. That's really not necessary. Not many are tied that way anymore, unless you're a perfectionist. So if you are and you want to If you want to go for it, go for it. So what we're going to do, and you can do these one at a time if you need to, but I'm going to line them up and pinch them so they're in the little V. And then I'm going to come and lay them right on the back. These are supposed to sit to the back of the hurl or the back of the fly. Okay, and this can be a little challenging to get to, so I'm trying to do it so you can see it. I can put one wrap over and kind of stop and see how they're sitting. Make an adjustment. Now I can hold the back and put a second wrap in where I can really get them in place. I'm going to jump my thread to the back just a little bit to capture them where they are. They're supposed to sit flat, flat. There we go. That's a little better. Sometimes you get techniques beat into your head, you know? And now you can kind of build the collar up. So they're sitting something like that. These ones actually turned out to be a little short, but it is what it is. Don't sweat the small stuff. Now we're just going to tie this all in. And we got these sticking out the front there. I love doing live videos. It's just, you know, I can practice this fly like I have, 70 times in the last month. And I get to the video and like everything goes wrong in my mind. It's like, no, that was wrong. That was wrong. So, I'm just going to tie all that in. So you've got a fly that looks like that. And we're going to whip finish and call this one done. It's a challenging fly, especially as a new tire. I'll put 2 whip finishes in of 4 or so. But take your time doing it, and as you're going, pause the video. I try to go slow and tie with you and not for you. But at the end of the day, you should have 2 white biots coming off the back. Like I was saying, the original actually called for a second set of white biots that come up 3/4 of the distance. So I'd have another biot coming this way and would stop here, and another biot coming this way and stop, about there. So you have several biots that stopped like right in this area as the top biot. Not many people tie it that way anymore, from what I've seen. If you decide to do the international Fly Fishers International Silver Awards program, that is a requirement for their silver level fly, because this is a silver level fly for them. So, and we'll just finish it off with a little dab of cement, a little super glue, make sure everything stays in place. So there you go. Kind of took our time tying the Prince Nymph. Lots of variations to this pattern. You can do it in several colors that I've seen. Purple's a big one. I've seen quite a few people tie it in red, actually, with a red body. So, have some fun with this one, gang. Great pattern. World famous classic pattern. Don't know what else to say except, happy tying. If you found this video and you're not a part of our Facebook group, Fly Tying for Beginners, feel free to join us, answer the questions, and you can get in. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, also feel free to do that. Make sure you click on the bell below to get notified when I've got new videos that are coming out. Check out the other videos. I'm starting to get some on there. Pretty decent amount anyway. So, other than that, gang, it's been fun. Happy tying, and I'll see you next time.